This is a McDonald's in 2025. This is the same McDonald's in 2009. Talk about attention to detail. This looks like a safari outside of that building. Check out this McDonald's in 2025. Now look at the exact same McDonald's in 2009. Not as detailed as the safari, but look at what's going on here. Once again, attention to detail. Look at how these logos look in 2025. Look at how they used to look like in the 2000s. They're really taking the color away from life. They're taking the enthusiasm away from life, the flavor, the spark. Now, all of these establishments down to the logo be looking like a gray factory. And the thing about it is it's all by design. It's all by design. It would be one thing if the aesthetics was taken away from the overhead that you would make as a profit every month. But that's not the case because McDonald's, Wendy's, etc., they're making money and a lot of money every year. So why take away the personality, the flavor of the building itself? Why take away all those colors and all of that? Because I'm assuming that the agenda is to make everything monotone. Everything with no spark, with less flavor. Like the creativity level in this era right now is at an all-time low. I've never seen nothing like this before. All the way down to the logos. Like everything is just depressing with it. We need a renaissance and we need it fast.
What if I told you the CIA secretly planted spies inside America's newsrooms? During the Cold War, the US government launched a covert program called Operation Mockingbird. And its mission was simple: control the media. Journalists were recruited, headlines were edited, entire narratives were shaped, not by editors, but by spooks in suits. At its peak in the 1960s, the CIA had influence over TV, radio, magazines, and newspapers, both in the US and overseas, all to push pro-American propaganda and silence anything that questioned it. It wasn't exposed until 1976, when a Senate investigation finally pulled back the curtain. They found payments, planted stories, and a long trail of deception. The government was manufacturing public opinion, and we only found out decades later. Proof that sometimes the loudest voices in the news aren't journalists at all.
Are you paying attention yet? This is starting to get crazy. Numerous countries in Europe are dealing with major power outages. So the two places that are majorly affected by these power outages are Spain and Portugal. Take a look at this satellite image. You can imagine how bad it must be there for them. Trains stopping in their tracks, traffic lights not working, no access to ATMs, gas, stores have no power. Their cell service is even affected. Can you imagine being in the dark? No power, no cell service? Their internet service is also down. And to make matters even worse, they don't even know how this even happened. So you must say to yourself, if that can happen there, that can happen anywhere. Here's some video of a train when it lost power and everyone was forced off the train onto the side of the rail bed. Watch. Look. Nowhere to go. No phone service, no rail service, stranded. And they're also claiming they can't purchase anything electronically. So you know what that means? They need cash. So they're trying to go to banks to get cash out. And guess what? There's no power. So you can't get cash out. Hopefully, this gets taken care of real quick and they figure out what happened. Let me know in the comments what you think happened. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
A 500-year-old ice wall map has just been discovered, and this might be the best one yet because it fits a lot of the missing pieces together that we've had for a while. Now look at this. This is supposed to be Antarctica, but it's all green because it was 500 years ago and it was at a time when the world was much warmer and there were no winters anywhere. And there's so much detail. These people, they drew exactly what they saw, and they saw all these creatures on these other continents, and this relates to the the flat earth German map from the 1940s that they used when they went out and discovered what was going on in Antarctica, and they mapped it all out. And this relates exactly to that map. And this even has Agartha right in the center. It actually shows the continent there. And this is the Flat Earth German map from the 1940s, which shows where they went out on expeditions back then to Antarctica, and they mapped out everything that they found. But since this is almost 500 years later compared to the other map I just showed you, these other continents are now frozen over by ice sheets because everything freezes over time. But I don't have an animation to show how that works. But this map right here is supposed to be a moon map reflection, and that is just the moon. They say that the moon acts like a map to everybody on Earth, and this is a reflection of everything, and it shows where all of our continents are. It's really hard to explain without animation, but I just saw a lot of similarities between this map and the other one, and no one has pointed this out yet. And this is the highest resolution image that I could find of this map, but if you look closely, if you zoom in, you'll see all these different kind of creatures. That looks like a dinosaur. How do they even know those existed 500 years ago unless they actually saw them and all these other type of creatures that used to be around? It kind of proves what I've been saying this entire time about all these ancient creatures that the medieval people wrote about. They wrote about exactly what they saw, and these had to be real, otherwise we wouldn't have so many stories about them.
Incidents that changed the world forever. In 1902, U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt went on a hunting trip where he refused to shoot a bear that had been captured, deeming it too cruel and unsporting. The story spread rapidly and was then turned into a popular political cartoon. Inspired by this, toy makers created a stuffed bear and called it Teddy's Bear in honor of Roosevelt. The toy became a huge hit, and the teddy bear went on to become one of the most beloved toys in history. In 1895, a German scientist named Wilhelm Röntgen was experimenting with electrical tubes when he noticed a strange glow on his hand, which revealed his bones. He realized the electrical rays could pass through solid objects, but not the bones, leading to the development of X-ray imaging, which transformed medicine forever. In 1941, a Swiss engineer named George Mistral was walking through the woods with his dog when he noticed small, prickly seeds clinging to his clothes and his dog's fur. Upon examining them under a microscope, he discovered the tiny hooks on the seeds that allowed them to attach so effectively. Inspired by this, he created a type of fastening system, leading to the invention of Velcro, which revolutionized how things are fastened in a wide range of industries.
Let's see what's inside. Uh-oh. Apparently, this is an LED 5G streetlight. It's pretty neat. This is a 5G cellular tower disguised as a water tower. You can tell it's a 5G tower disguised as a water tower because of the way that it is. Here's the antennas. Here's the disguise. It's pretty neat. This is a pine tree planted by T-Mobile. You can tell it's a pine tree planted by T-Mobile because of the way that it is. It's a pine tree, and it was planted by T-Mobile. This is an Itron smart meter. You can tell it's an Itron smart meter by the way that it is. This particular Itron smart meter has a special feature. Let's take a look.
Lady, I just want a garden right now, alright? I need to feel like I'm floating. You get to feel like you're floating all the time. I want to feel like I'm floating for a few minutes, alright? So let me have... I'm not playing games. I get it. You're stuck in your ways. They didn't do it back then. You get arrested for it. Not anymore, okay? And look at that over... Got him! Got him! Alright? What, are you going to rat the cops out on me? I get it wasn't legal back in your day. When you were an ARC? They sell it on every street corner now. Are you trying to tell me something? I don't understand. Like, what are you getting at? Girl, did you fart? What are you... Okay, water? You want water? Girl, you are stinky up in here, and I have a stuffy nose. This was on. Did you turn this on? You're throwing shit around. You could have turned this off. You make me do it. What are you even doing? I get you trying to protect me and shit, but you could have just turned the thing instead of throwing shit around.
Hey guys, I rarely like to talk about this, but artificial intelligence is fucking crazy. It is so crazy what's happening right now in the world. And this video, you're either gonna just scroll past it or it's about to blow your mind, one of the two. So AI is, if I can define it, the automation of the creation of all types of communication. So any type of communication that you want, you can create it automatically with ChatGPT, for example, or just any other AI tool. Now, when it comes to jobs are basically communication. So the reason you have a job is because you have to communicate something in the job. You're either communicating in your marketing department, in fulfillment, you're communicating with clients, with sales, right? Client services, you're communicating. And now AI automates all communication. So here's where it gets a little crazy. Like right now, like that's the technology, that's what it does. But you still need a human that could do it for you. Like you still need to type into ChatGPT, you need to grab the copy, and then you need to create the ad, then you got to edit the ad. So you still need some manual labor, right? Now in 2025, we are about to see AI agents, which is basically like AI using AI for you. So AI isn't going to replace your job. It's going to be kids, people from third world countries that are going to be using AI agents in 2025, and that's going to replace your jobs. That scares the crap out of me. Be safe, everybody.
That's crazy.
Have you ever had the strange feeling that your phone knows exactly what you're thinking? What if I told you that might not be a coincidence? As artificial intelligence advances at a frightening pace, experts warn, we may not just be creating smart machines, we may be building the future controllers of our reality. Apparently, algorithms already understand our emotions, anticipate decisions, and shape our opinions without us even noticing. Social networks, virtual assistants, recommendation systems, all of it may seem harmless, but what happens when an AI begins to predict and influence collective behavior? Some say the next step isn't mastering technology, it's technology mastering us. What seems like convenience may actually be disguised programming. And what if our choices are already being made by something that has no face, no conscience, but knows more about us than we do? The line between freedom and control may have already been crossed.
May 4th could very well be the most fateful day of 2025. There's a sense that after this day, the world we once knew is completely out of reach and in the past, necessitating an entirely new conception of what a 21st century society has to look like. On that day, Pluto, which represents the inexorable cycle of life and death, will station retrograde in Aquarius. Now, this is the first time in our lifetimes that Pluto will only be in Aquarius during its retrograde. Over the past 2 years, Pluto's retrograde in Aquarius has brought it back into Capricorn, the sign that governs traditional systems and bureaucracies. As Pluto reverses course in the revolutionary sign of Aquarius, there is likely to be an event that prompts us to seriously reflect on the type of transformation we want to implement at a collective scale. And our collective reflection on society's evolution will be more strongly influenced by Aquarian themes that drive towards progress and the future, more so than Capricorn, which attempts to preserve tradition. I believe May 3rd and 4th will act as catalysts that set us on a very particular timeline in this metamorphosis of the entire collective. To add potency to this day, Uranus is back in a conjunction with Algol, a fixed star that can have a very destructive effect. The last time Uranus was here was in mid-July 2024, and we all know what happened then. With Uranus, by the way, in the third decan of Taurus still, which is a Capricorn decan, where it has been since May of 2023. This suggests from another angle that traditional hierarchies are being challenged and in some cases fractured and reinvented. And I have been harping on these these themes for over 2 years. And on May 3rd and 4th, the moon will join Mars in Leo opposing Pluto, which can activate an urgency to demand autonomy, to upend the status quo, or to push against power imbalances. And in general, it can stoke these frustrating feelings. And by the way, the fixed signs, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, and Taurus, will also be reckoning with their own internal transformations, and they may feature very prominently on these days. What kind of change do you want to see now that you know there's no going back?
I know it's been 2025 for a month now, but doesn't it kind of feel like we've all been trapped in the same year forever? Like time has been barely passing at all? I mean, the pandemic feels like it was yesterday, but doesn't it also feel like it was 100 years ago? And how are we already up to Sonic the Hedgehog 3? I don't even remember Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It feels like 2 weeks ago we were all making fun of this guy, and now you're telling me I already missed the debut of Tails and Knuckles, and they've already moved on to the pervert hedgehogs for the real Sonic freaks? What the hell is going on? Now look, before you say I'm just getting old, even posters on r/Gen Z think something weird is going on. Well, you're right, small boy 2004. It does feel like time is moving a lot faster. And it's not just because you're a teeny little guy. So I've put a lot of thought into this, and I have a theory. I think it's because in the last 25 years, our culture has quietly experienced a huge linguistic shift that no one is talking about, but that has literally changed how we experience and remember the passage of time, and alienated us from each other and our own culture.
We have a problem.
New overnight, a Russian
attack by a Russian
over the Chernobyl nuclear power plant.
On February 14th, Russia flew a kamikaze drone into Chernobyl. Yes, that Chernobyl, the nuclear power plant that was the site of the worst radioactive accident in the history of humanity. Now, there's a hole through the protective shell or sarcophagus that guards Chernobyl big enough to drop an SUV through. We're here to tell you why this is a way bigger deal than you may have thought, and what Russia's game is.
Добрый вечер, товарищи. Все вы знаете, недавно нас постигла беда. Авария на Чернобыльской атомной электростанции.
Chernobyl is one of the few pieces of Ukrainian history that nearly everyone in the world has heard of. At the time of the accident in 1986, only 5% of the radioactive reactor core was scattered into the environment. That was enough to leave 1,000 square miles surrounding the Chernobyl power plant uninhabitable to the present day. It's an area known as the exclusion zone. The explosion at Chernobyl released 400 times more radiation than the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima during World War II. All of that from just 5% of the reactor's contents, mostly uranium, plutonium, and the resulting molten mess termed corium. The reactor melted down exactly 39 years ago tonight at 1:23 in the morning. Since then, over 200 tons of radioactive material have remained within the new safe confinement, the official name of the sarcophagus shielding the destroyed plant. To understand the situation caused by Russia's drone strike on Chernobyl, let's talk about what this sarcophagus is and how it works. So first, why did we need any type of confinement? And by that I mean, what exactly is it confining? Radiation is commonly depicted in pop culture as a glowing light. That kind of radiation, electromagnetic radiation, is fairly common, and much of it is benign. In addition to visible light, electromagnetic radiation includes radio and microwaves, X-rays, and also highly dangerous gamma rays, all of which erupted from Chernobyl. But this was not the most dangerous radiation that the Chernobyl meltdown released. Think of pollen, which trees release, and the wind picks up and carries it everywhere, to other trees and flowers.
Headdress of hat that the Pope wears is impacted by a god named Dagon. Dagon was a god of the Philistines, and Dagon comes from the word dag, which means fish. So now we see the Pope's headdress. On the top is the Pope's mitre. But when turned, you then see he's actually wearing a fish head, the fish god Dagon, because he's representing the worship of an ancient Phoenician god. So this is why today Christians on the back of their cars, you will see, have a fish symbol. That's to denote them as Christians worshiping Jesus. No, it's a fish symbol because it's denoting Dagon, the fish god.